And hello again, and to another ABE nudge or ABE update. This one is slightly different in that it actually came on the back of a question rather than a nudge from nowhere. It was someone I know had asked me personally by email, could I ask a question to Abe about biofield sound therapy because they were looking into it and were interested in engaging with biosound therapy. So they said, please could you ask Abe if they have anything to say about it? Simple as that. No specific question, just, what does Abe have to say about biosound therapy? So we put that question to Abe through Nicola, and this is the answer we got, and it relates to the 16th of June of this year, 2022. So, the question isn't really a fixed question. It was just, can you say something about biosound therapy? And this is the answer we got from 16th of June. You see, and what we say here is with great reverence for your points of place. Sound therapy is and will create resonance. But you see, you are to be in allowance of it, to tune something, if you will. You have to be attuned, do you not? It is not so much about the blocks, but more so what will you be attuned to then allow these blocks to move. It is a waking up and not a shift too. But hear this, if you yourself are not in allowance of these attunements, then what in this will it achieve? Your earth itself is allowing more resonance. In this, we see that 8.88 is indeed a frequency in which you are moving into. So this itself, if you allow, will attune you to. You see the patterns, the resonance already there, already seen and known to you, which you have been studying. It is now about allowing more in yourselves and extending allowing, if you will, beyond these sequences, these patterns. You see this? You have now a relational point, internal, that is your own attunement. In this, you are allowing to allow. You are rewiring. In this, you are in plain sight, waking up dormant resonance within yourselves, new pathways within to then enable external pathways without, between each other, and to that of your planet, and extending out further and further. There will be much discovered over this next decade, and you will be taking a quantum leap. But see, if you are asking as to whether indeed this is beneficial, it is in the relation to oneself that answers that question. And although you may feel we are redirecting, we say this here now clearly. To allow yourselves fully is to allow yourselves. Blockages are only present when you are not in allowance of, you see. So that's the answer from Abe. So they start up by saying, well, sound therapy will create resonance. But you have to be in attune to it. I mean, this is me, again, just kind of speculating the interpretation here. It's not just a case of I'm going to sit back and this sound therapy is going to do the work on me and I just, I kind of do nothing. It's you have to be in a kind of attunement with the sound therapy, which is coming from yourself. And, Abe says you have to be attuned, do you not? So through the attunement, we can allow these blocks to shift. But it's also us kind of meeting the sound therapy. It's as if, you're kind of retuning a guitar. You have the bing and you have the tuning fork, but that's not enough. that gives you the resonance, but you have to do the work to tune the guitar to meet the tuning fork. And that's how I feel from Abe here. Abe is saying, yes, the sound therapy gives you the resonance to be at, but you have to then attune to that. It has to come from you. Um, and Abe says, if you yourself are not in allowance of these attunements, then what in this will it achieve? So, there's something that we have to bring also from ourselves, to allow the sound therapy to have more effect with us. And then interestingly, Abe goes back to the 8.88 frequency, something that we brought up before on an earlier nudge. And this is only the second time that Abe has brought it up. Your earth itself is allowing more resonance. We see that 8.88 is indeed a frequency in which you are moving into. So already there's a shifting resonance on the planet that we can move into. So he says the patterns, the resonance are already there. It's allowing more in ourselves. So they've shifted from the biosound therapy to a kind of earth resonance therapy, so to speak, and that we have to allow this new resonance to kind of connect with it. And this is our relational point internal in ourselves. And they said this is in plain sight. We have to wake up dormant resonance. So this is maybe the therapy we need, is that maybe the earth shifting to 8.88 is the real biofield therapy that's going on. That the Gaia therapy is probably what we need to get in tune with. And this will, so again, and Abe has mentioned this before, new pathways within will allow external pathways to be established. Interesting, they say there'll be much discovered over this next decade. You'll be taking a quantum leap. That's a very positive statement. With all that's going on in the world about how this next decade to 2030 is going to be a time of great chaos and strife and upheaval, Abe is saying you're going to discover much that I feel is going to be internal and not kind of social cultural, and you'll be taking a quantum leap. So it's as if there's a lot of shifting of energy coming in with this decade, a lot of reattunement, and if we are aligned with that, we could possibly, as a species, a human species, take a quantum leap with what's coming in. Kind of distinct from what's kind of trying to entrap us in the world externally with the external energies. So, and then finally they say to allow yourselves fully is to allow yourselves. So we have to stop being our own blockages and kind of give ourselves a space to allow this shifting, this retuning. And maybe if we react to external impacts with anxiety and angst and fear and panic, how are we going to get through this next decade? That's what the external world is expecting from us. That this chaos response from us will help unfolding a certain external agenda. But if we just allow ourselves to go with the shifting energies, then we can see something perhaps potentially incredible happen in the next decade. And Abe is referring to that. And the last line, blockages are only present when you are not in allowance of, you see. So again, it all comes back to us. We have to make sure that we don't create blockages, and we're being influenced and impacted to have internal blockages at this time, but we should step back from that. So that's what Abe says. And what I did is that after receiving that answer on the same day, I did follow it up with a question about the 8.88. So after that answer, I then immediately returned this question. Is the shift to 8.88 referring to the Schumann resonance? And how long will it take to make this complete shift to 8.88, and what will be its effect upon humanity? And this is the answer we received on the same day. You see, it is not about the rising up or in frequency that comes so that you can grab a hold of. It is not that defined. It cannot be. It is in and of, and in and around of this web of consciousness. And it is not just on your planet, not just in your solar system. It is interwoven. What we say when we mention this 8.88 is that it is indeed of your vibratory entirety of your planet. It can be called what you will. What this will indeed be doing at this time, this point, you will see this resonance in flux. It will not be at a settling point, see? Again, it is tightly interwoven and entwined, but it will not be something you actively do to bring this to a settling point, but that in which you allow. This is important in this stabilization. You see, for this must be seen. Okay, so that answer there, if I can try to get my kind of reaction, my response to it. The frequency is not something that we can grab onto. It's not something we can define. I'm going to raise my frequency to 8.88. It's not how it works. It's because, as I said, Abe said, this is complete web of consciousness. Everything is kind of in this attunement. Not just a planet, not just a solar system. Everything's interwoven. So it's something that we're kind of moving into. Not something that we can kind of grasp or to pull ourselves up to, but it's something that everything's moving. And this is indeed the vibratory entirety of the planet. Abe says you can call it what you will. I mean, we call it Schumann resonance, but you see that's a human construction. We've called the vibration this resonance after the discovery of Schumann. But the name's not important. It's just that there is a whole vibratory shifting, which includes the whole web of consciousness. And it's going to be in flux. It will not be a settling point. So maybe this flux is perhaps what we're witnessing and experiencing externally with all the events across the planet. And I mean also the the events through the nature environment. The kind of disruption of the eruption of volcanoes, greater erratic or certain weather patterns. These are maybe out of a human domain, but are part of shifting vibratory matrix that's going on the planet and the solar system and in the whole web of consciousness. So it's not yet settling. And it says, it will not be something you actively do to bring this to a settling point, but in which you will allow. This is important in this stabilization. So Abe is saying, we can't kind of bring this to a settling point. So again, this is like the human kind of hubris. We feel that we can control or geoengineer our environment, and we're going to do this to, stabilize. Abe says, no, just, this flux is going through everywhere. And so allow this so you don't block it. You're like a willow tree bending in the wind. Again, it's my interpretation. I put in the willow tree analogy. We have to kind of bend and flow and allow this shifting so we can stabilize as the energy stabilizes, but it's not yet settling. But we shouldn't force it. We should allow it. It's a kind of receptive, almost passive, but not in a negative passive, like I'm not going to do anything. A passive in that we're receptive to this and we can retune as everything else retunes. So that's the kind of answer or the theme from the 16th of June 2022. Thank you.